So on Friday, we did part of the notes with the Snoop Dogg at the top right. We did the parallel side of these notes. So we knew that if the slope was the same, but the y-intercept was different, that would give us a parallel line. We did 2 examples of that. And now we are on the back side. So describe the relationship of the slope of perpendicular lines. Remember, perpendicular means they intersect, not just intersect, but they intersect at what angles? What kind of angles do they make? Right angles. Okay, so if it's perpendicular, they make right angles. Okay, and we are going to describe the relationship of the slope. Okay, so go ahead and write in this blank. They have opposite reciprocal slopes. Okay, opposite reciprocal slopes. Now, not everyone knows what opposite reciprocal means, so I'll tell you right here. What does it mean? 2 things. Opposite means change the sign. Change the positive/negative sign. And then flip the fraction. Okay? So, for example, off to the side here. If I had -1/2, what would the opposite reciprocal be of -1/2? So we change the negative to a positive, and then the 1/2 flips to 2/1. So the opposite reciprocal would be positive 2/1. Okay? What if I have another example? What if I have a positive 3/4? What's the opposite reciprocal of positive 3/4? Okay, it would be -4/3. Very good. Because I changed the sign and I flipped the fraction. So the opposite reciprocal is -4/3. Okay, so those are 2 examples that I wrote off to the side of what it looks like to put an opposite reciprocal. But you have to know that on this side of the page, when we talk about the word perpendicular, you're going to take the slope and change it to the opposite reciprocal. Okay? Now, right below this, the y-intercept can change or stay the same. Doesn't matter what the y-intercept is. The only thing that matters for perpendicular lines in their equation is that the slope changes the sign and flips the fraction. We call that opposite reciprocal, or Miss Marrero doesn't like the word opposite reciprocal. She says
negative reciprocal.
Now, that doesn't mean it's always negative, but that means you change the sign.
So, like SeaWorld, the otters. Boop.
Exactly. So, with that in mind, let's go ahead and try that on the first example. Our slope right here is -3/4, right? Does everyone see that right there? So down here, I'm going to put y equals, what is the opposite reciprocal of -3/4? So change negative to what? I want everyone in the room. Y'all hearing me? -3/4 turns into positive, and then flip it, 4/3. Okay? So positive 4/3. So you don't have to put a positive sign, 4/3, x. Now, remember, for the y-intercept, it says right here, the y-intercept can change or stay the same, doesn't matter. So just for fun, we'll leave it the exact same y-intercept, because you can do that. If you change it, that's fine. But FYI, you can leave it the same. So we need to graph both of these. So, remind me from last time we met. When I have mx plus b, what do I graph first? The m or the b? Okay, b for beginning, right? So whenever you have this equation, you start with your b, right? Because over here on the blue sheets on my sidewall, it says starting point, right? So for my original equation, my b is positive 2. So let's put a point at positive 2. And then my original slope is negative 3 over 4. So if you remember Mrs. Morero's song, Rise Over Run, we need to rise over run. So negative 3 over 4, how much do I rise if it's negative 3? Up or down? Down 3. Let's do that. From my y-intercept, I go down 1, 2, 3, and then I'm going to run 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Put a point there. All right. So go ahead and make a line through that. If you continue the pattern, you can kind of get a straighter line. Make it as straight as you can. It says to use a different color. You don't have to do that. But now we're going to graph this one. It is very similar in the y-intercept. It's the same number, but the slope is opposite reciprocal. So instead of negative 3 over 4, now my slope right here is positive 4 over 3, starting at the same y-intercept. So at positive 2, we graph M or B first. The B. The B is still 2, so put a point at 2. And then we're going to rise over run. Yeah. So, rise 4, run 3. They're both positive, so which way am I going to rise? Up, and then I'm going to run 3 to the right. So, up 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Right 3, 1, 2, 3. Keep the pattern going. When you do it the other direction, you have to kind of go opposite. So instead of up 4, right 3, you go down 4, left 3, down 4, left 3, down 4, left 3. And then you can make your second line through there. And if you did it correctly, this should look like a right angle. And it does. So on your sheet, it should look right because you use opposite reciprocal slopes. Okay? So we did that. Very good. Now, if you look at the next one, kind of like our warm-up, this is not in y equals form. It's not in what we call slope-intercept form. So what we're going to need to do for this is solve it first. Now, the bad part about this is that doesn't give us a lot of room to solve this. So let's go ahead and rewrite it up here. Negative 12x plus 4y equals negative 4. Okay, I want to have enough room to solve it, so I'm going to rewrite it off to the side. You can solve it wherever you'd like. You could do it down here if you want. Either way, okay? Now, if I solve this, what am I going to do first to solve it? Actually, I will bring it down there. Wherever you want to solve it's fine. So what do I need to get rid of first on the left side? The x term, right? Just like our warm-up. How do I get rid of a negative 12x? Adding 12x to both sides. Okay, remember, since I'm solving a two-variable equation, you can't forget that you're going to use that little arrow thing so we can move it over. So I'm going to move the 12x in front of the negative 4. So I'm going to bring down 4y equals 12x minus 4. And then my last step to get rid of that 4, I'm going to do what? Divide. Divide by 4. Everything gets divided by 4. So my final equation here will be y equals 12 divided by 4 is 3x. Negative 4 over 4 is negative 1. So This up here is 3x minus 1. Don't forget, 3x means 3 over 1x, right? We know a whole number is the same thing as a fraction over 1. Okay? So, let's go ahead and graph that original line. 3x minus 1. I graph my m or b first. B, right? What's the b? Minus 1. So let's put a point on the y-axis at -1, right there. And then our slope, rise 3, run 1, okay? So I'm going to rise 3, 1, 2, 3, run 1. If I keep the pattern going, up 3 over 1, down 3 left 1. And I can make my line as straight as I can. Now, who can tell me the equation of a perpendicular line to this? So what do I do with 3 over 1? -1 over 3, okay? The positive 3 over 1, change the sign, flip the fraction. That's the opposite reciprocal. So it has to go negative, and I have to flip it. So -1 over 3 x, and you know what? Let's change the y-intercept. Why don't we use +1? Doesn't matter, okay? And now we graph it. We graph the b first, the +1, right there. And then the slope is -1 over 3. Down 1, right 3. Down 1, right 3. If you continue the pattern, and the other way, up 1, left 3. And you should get a nice looking perpendicular line. Okay? The same thing will go for the bottom. Again, we need to solve this. And this is reminding me of our warm-up, number 3. The only step I need to do is to divide by that coefficient. And I get 5 over 6x. Now you might notice there is no y-intercept. So if there is no b, then that b is going to be 0. So if my b is 0, I'm going to write it right there. Okay, so that's not in the equation, but we write it kind of so we know that when we graph our b, it's going to be at the what we call the origin, right? So at the origin, 0 on the y-axis, 0, 0 is the point. And then our slope is rise 5, run 6. They're both positive. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, then you can make your line through that. And then in my perpendicular slope, what is the opposite reciprocal of 5 over 6? Positive 5 over 6. Change the sign, negative, and then flip the fraction, 6 over 5. So negative 6 over 5x. Do we want to change the y-intercept from 0? We can. Or not, whatever, so put +0, why not? So the same thing, plot b at 0, and then we're going to rise -6, so we're going to go down 6 and run 5 to the right. So our slope is down 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, run 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If you do it correctly, you should get a nice perpendicular line making 90-degree angle, okay? So, that will help you do your assignment today. It's going to be very similar to that. All right. And on the next page that says given two points, slope or y-intercept, what can I do? Go ahead and put a big old slash through it. You don't need to do that.
Yeah.